Good day to all of you. The topic we will discuss today is about the custom of Tagalog by Padre Juan de Placencia and the Visayan native races and their customs by Father Colin. Juan de Placencia is a Spanish friar of the Franciscan order. He came to the Philippines with the first batch of the Franciscan missionaries in 1577. He is also the author of the first religious book called Doctrina Christiana. He wrote the book as a product of his own judgments and observations, being part of the events that happened. He was there to witness them at first hand. He functioned as the defender of the rights of the native Filipinos. He also wrote the document because he was tasked by the King of Spain to document the traditions and customs of the colonized natives. This is because of the practice that colonizers used at the age of discovery. To hence the priority over the colonized natives and to prove their so-called duties and legacies to the world.
The document was written in 1589, wherein it tackled the practice and tradition of the Tagalogs during the Spanish period. At the time, the Filipinos were governed by a chieftain called the Dato. Each population of Filipinos were called barangays, and each barangays has one Dato governing them. The people were categorized by their social standing. The Maharlikas or nobles, aliping namamahay or commoners, and aliping sa gigilid as the slaves.
The Maharlikas were the highest among the social classes. They don't pay taxes or give tributes to the dato. They are required to help the dato in times of war. The Maharlikas were obliged to pay 100 grams of rice to the dato because if he knew that they occupy the lands, this will be their way of payment and change for their highest place in the social class. If a Maharlika married a commoner or a slave, the children will be divided. The first, third, fifth, and so on will go to the father. At the second, fourth, sixth will go third of mother, and so on. The Ilipin Namahay were the commoners. They are free and they have their own gold and wealth. They cannot be slave nor sold. The alipin sa gigilid with the slaves there serve their master in the house and can be sold to other masters.
In religion, they believe in their so-called Badhala, in which called as the all-powerful and maker of all things, but they also believe in the heavenly bodies such as the sun, moon, star, etc. In burials, a member of the barangay dies. If it's a dato, they will bury him under a porch and will be mourned for 4 days. If a warrior dies, a living slave will be tied underneath his body. If a commoner dies, they will be buried beside their houses. All of their events will be accompanied by drinking and eating. They also believe in the concept of afterlife, which they called Maka. They also believe in witches such as Hakloban, Mangkukulam, and Mangangaway. At this time, the main event that affected the Philippines was the Spanish colonization, which influenced us with some of their customs such as Christianity and the formation of a government.
The Philippines was portrayed as a community without a unified government. Each barangay was governed by a date. Their religion was not just focused on one god alone on their Badhala, but they believed in the existence of heavenly bodies as well. This make them pagan or animist. Here are some terms and concepts with their meaning that are native use at this time.
Datu governed the people and were captains in their wars and whom they obeyed and reverenced. Barangay, tribal gathering that consists of as many as 100 houses, sometimes even less than 30. Pachanak, if any woman died in childbirth, she and the child suffered punishment, and that at night she could be heard lamenting. Tikbalang, phantoms. Simbahan, a temple or place of adoration. Tala, the morning star. Mangangaway, witches who deceive by pretending to heal the sick. Hokloban, which is another kind of witch of greater efficacy than the mangangaway, without the use of medicine and by simply saluting or raising the hand, they killed whom they chose. Mangkokolam, whose duty it was to emit fire from himself at night, once or oftener each Maharlika, nobles that were freeborn and did not pay tax or tribute to the Datu, but must accompany him in war at their own expense. Aliping namamahay, also known as commoners, they are married and serve their masters, where there be a Datu or not, with half of their cultivated lands, as was agreed upon in the beginning. They live in their own houses and are lords of their property and gold. Aliping sa gigilid, also known as slaves, they serve their master in his house and on his cultivated lands and may be sold.
There has some been confusion between aliping na mamahay and aliping sa gigilid. Some books both were classified as slaves, but in Placencia book, aliping na mamahay was known as the commoners of the barangay. The aliping sa gigilid were regarded as the slaves.
On the other hand, according to Father Francisco Colin, a Jesuit priest, the Visayan people had a different term designated to each social class. There are three kinds and classes of people: the chiefs, whom the Visayans call Dato, and the Tagalogs Maginoo, the Timawas, who are the ordinary common people, called Maharlika among the Tagalogs, and the slaves, called Oripoin by the Visayans and Alipin by the Tagalogs.
Social classes among Tagalog. Equivalent terminology among Visayans. Noble class. In Visayan, it is called Dato or Tumaw. Middle class. In Visayan, Timawa. Lower class. In Visayan, Uripon. Duties. The duty of noble class, which rules the land and the clan of community. Middle class had enough land and men but do not work on their fields themselves. Lower class humans who are treated as property by other humans. The characteristics: richest and wealthiest person in community. Middle class can own and pay their own land. Commoners who don't have to pay tribute. Lower class, those who are unable to pay their debts and instead live a life of serving.
Their text is credible and relevant because Placencia himself was there to witness the event and customs that he write in these documents. These documents serve as a basis of how the Filipino people were before.